When the Bulls lost Lonzo Ball last January after suffering what appeared to be a minor knee injury that would sideline him for a few games, this quickly turned into having surgery once it was revealed that he had a torn meniscus in his left knee, the same knee for which he had the same operation after his rookie season back in 2018. And although the initial timeline for his return was 6 to 8 weeks from the point of the surgery back in late January, Lonzo never returned to action as he was still experiencing pain in his knee and was unable to ramp up his rehab whenever he would get to the point of performing basketball activities. Well, it was thought Lonzo will have the full offseason to rehab and recover and be fully ready to go by training camp, right? Well, unfortunately for the Bulls, Lonzo still was unable to ramp up his rehab and getting back to running and jumping, and as a result, another surgery was required on that knee to see what was going on. And although the surgery was said to be successful in identifying what the issue was with Lonzo still experiencing that pain, he still was going to need to be reevaluated 4 to 6 weeks after the surgery. And while those 4 to 6 weeks have passed, with very little updates on the status as we're about to head into December, it begs the question, where is Lonzo Ball and when can we expect him back? And that's what I'm going to be talking in this video. Also, a very big shout out to the sponsor of this video that you're not going to want to miss out hearing on, Underdog Fantasy. So what's going on, everyone? You're listening to Bulls Central here. Hope you're all doing well. Now, it's no question that as we look at the Bulls record sitting 7-10, a tough schedule ahead, a long road trip, and you think, man, it would be nice to have our starting point guard on the court, not only because of his ability to be a floor general with his court vision, great court vision, his quick thinking when playing in transition, which made the Bulls such a fun, high-octane, high-paced offense at the beginning of last season, but also just the fact that Lonzo is a great outside shooter, which is something the Bulls simply have not had on a consistent basis. The Bulls are currently 13th in the league in field goal percentage, but last in the league in three-point attempts, and in today's NBA that is predicated on outside shooting, you need to be putting up more volume from three to remain competitive against the rest of the league. And of course, Lonzo's perimeter defense as well, one of the best perimeter defenders in the game, and when you pair him alongside Alex Caruso in the rotation together, they make it very challenging for teams to drive to the basket or get easy looks from three, which as of right now, the Bulls are giving up way too many threes to their opponent, currently 28th in the league in three-point percentage for their opponent, and it's in part because they're leaving too many open players shooting from distance. Yet again, why it hurts to not have Lonzo in the lineup. So yes, while we're all wanting Lonzo Ball to be back as soon as possible, the problem though is it doesn't look like it's going to happen anytime soon, and I'll delve into why after I talk about the latest offer from today's sponsor. Trust me, you're not going to want to miss this. Now, I've had fantasy sports companies reach out to me in the past, but none that have been quite this easy to navigate with a very user-friendly interface. Underdog Fantasy is truly the best and easiest place to play fantasy sports. They have season-long drafts for which there is no league management after you draft, which for me personally is a big deal because I don't know about you guys, but every time I participate in a fantasy league, it's very frequent that I forget to set my lineups, waive players who are injured, all that stuff. With Underdog Fantasy, there are no waivers, trades, or setting lineups, and the app lets you draft a fantasy team in minutes. And aside from drafts, they also have NBA Pick'em, over and unders on most stats. Just pick over and under on your favorite player or least favorite player for that matter, and their stats, and you can win up to 20 times your money in a single night. Underdog keeps it super simple with the easy to use website and mobile apps. Pick between 2 and 5 players to fill out your Pick'em slip. Get every pick right, and you take home some cold hard cash. And guess what? They're offering viewers on this channel an exclusive offer. If you use the code BULLSCENTRAL, you'll get your first deposit doubled up to $100. Who doesn't want free money, right? And of course, this is also a great way to help support the channel. And I'm actually going to sweeten the deal even further. For those that sign up in the first 48 hours and make a deposit of at least $10, and you send me a screenshot confirming your sign up by DMing me, I'll include you in a jersey giveaway drawing. I did this once before, and your chances of winning a jersey are actually pretty high because it's not like when I do giveaways for all 30,000 of my subscribers. So thanks again for the support on the channel, and thanks again for Underdog for sponsoring this video. Now, back on the topic of Lonzo Ball. So the latest update we received, which I believe was about a week ago or so, when you had Billy Donovan answering questions from the media citing that Lonzo is progressing, he's doing more, but he's also still not running, still isn't jumping. Not good when these are really two of the most important physical aspects of playing the game of basketball. And if we're here in November and Lonzo hasn't even gotten to the running stage of his rehab yet, and he hasn't been able to play basketball, likely since obviously last January, it also means he's probably going to be pretty out of shape and will take a fair amount of time to get his conditioning back up. And I'm sure most of you saw the initial report back at the start of training camp from Shams Charania reporting on that second surgery to Lonzo's knee, that the expectation would be for Lonzo to return sometime in January, which would make it a full year since Lonzo last played in an NBA game. Now, I don't mean to be a Debbie Downer, But if Lonzo at this point in time is still unable to run or jump, if the team is still being incredibly vague about his status, kind of like how they were all offseason until it came out that he needed to have surgery and would miss training camp as well as the start of the season, then there is no way Lonzo is going to be back by January. Just spitballing here, but let's say somehow, miraculously, Lonzo is cleared to start running, getting his conditioning up, all that good stuff today. Not going to happen, but let's just say for the sake of the argument that that happens today on November 22nd. It's going to be at least a couple of weeks before he starts doing non-contact drills, another week or so before he starts doing contact drills, a couple more weeks before he starts doing 3-on-3 scrimmages, and then there's even more time that passes before he gets to playing 5-on-5 in practice. Meanwhile, all of this needs to be done while he conditions his body to get back into NBA game shape, all the while he's just trying to get his rhythm and flow of playing in an NBA basketball game again after being out for over a year. You're looking at Lonzo, based on all this, returning to action on the court at the earliest in February, and even then, likely on a minutes restriction for the first 3 weeks, and then again, even then, that's pushing it because we're talking about Lonzo being cleared to start ramping up his rehab today, which obviously is not going to be the case. We know that we're still a few weeks away from that. All of this to say, and I said the opposite before, but I would not be shocked now if Lonzo Ball misses the whole season. Before, I said I would be shocked if he did miss the whole season, and now, I mean, I'm also just kind of expecting it at this point, and maybe this is just my way of mentally preparing for it being a true reality. And it's funny because when I had Sam Smith on the channel after the preseason, I asked him what his thoughts were regarding Lonzo Ball and when we could expect him to return, and he said that he would be shocked if Lonzo played at all this season, and I, at that time, thought the guy was crazy. Like how could a guy who had a meniscus surgery, who went from being an estimated timeline of return of 6 to 8 weeks from January of 2022 to not only being out for the rest of that season, but also miss the entire following season as a result? There's just no way. But here we are, heading into December shortly. No update on Lonzo. Again, still can't run, still can't jump. And with the way that the Bulls are playing, being 7-10, 11th in the East, I know they just had that great win over the Celtics, but this team is by no means a title contender. Like, even with Lonzo, this isn't a contending team. Lonzo is not saving this team as much as some would like to think. He makes us significantly better, but based on how the team is trending, based on the fact that we're still going to be without Lonzo for a while, by the time Lonzo does actually get healthy and maybe gets cleared to play, the Bulls might say, you know what? It's not really worth risking another injury if we're not going to be making a deep push in the playoffs. I disagree with that sentiment, by the way. I think there is still value to having some of your better players play if they are healthy, so that way you don't take them away from the game of basketball for 1.5 years by the time they return. That's too long being out of the game where they're just going to be so rusty by that time that you actually do bring them back in the lineup. And also, I just don't buy the narrative of, well, we're not going to be able to compete for a title, so what's the point? Let's just rest our players. Like, no, you can at least still be competitive and a fun team to watch. But again, it doesn't matter how I feel. I just know that's how the front office will feel. If, say, we get to March and Lonzo is now healthy and ready to come back, the Bulls are sitting 7th or 8th in the East and not too much hope to make it beyond the first round, they're likely just going to shut Lonzo down for the season as a result. So because of all of this, the fact that Lonzo still isn't anywhere close to even participating in basketball activities, the fact that it's going to be weeks to even have him get his conditioning back up, the fact that he's likely going to be rusty whenever he does actually come back, and the fact that the Bulls aren't really going to be competing for a championship this season, it leads me to believe that Lonzo is likely going to miss the whole season. I very much hope that I'm wrong, because this team is so much more fun to watch when Lonzo is in the lineup, and I would much prefer to see my team look better than what we're currently seeing. I just don't know that it's realistic based on how things are trending with his rehab currently. But let me know what you guys think in the comments of Lonzo Ball, his status, and when you think he'll return. Be sure to check out my NBA channel, Am1 Hoops, if you haven't already. Link to that is in the description, as well as the link in the description of the offer from Underdog Fantasy. And as always, guys, be sure to subscribe if you're a Bulls fan, as I do post daily Bulls content. Thanks again for tuning in, guys, and I'll catch you in the next one.